Hello, check, check. What's up? I see Caleb Reynolds in the chat. How's it going, man? Man, it's this is a wide angle lens sorta, which means like yeah, it gets exponentially large the closer you get to it. And it means just a few feet away, like I can touch all this. Looks kind of small. If I look behind me, I'm like, man, it's almost my whole view is covered in posters on the wall. But then from the camera, it doesn't look like nothing. I need more posters, is what I'm saying. Which I think that means I need more tape, more serial killer tape. I actually do possibly have some posters that would work. I don't know. Choosing posters is like supposedly it's supposed to represent your personality, and then everyone has to be all hip about it, like maybe not something someone would think, but something still cool. Like, maybe like a good, bad, and the ugly poster, but oh, that's too obvious. We got to get something, it's got to be just right. But people have to have heard about it, but not have thought about it in a while. And they'll be like, oh, you're one of those guys who likes that. And then you kind of get to create your personality by posters. Or my instinct sometimes is like to do the cursed anti version. Like I think you can't see on this one, but it's an X-Men poster that's been ripped a fair amount and it's covered in stickers. Like, yeah, that's my personality. X-Men ruined by stickers. And but yeah, I need more of that. I need more cursed shit. I love cursed shit. Columbo, that actually would be exactly what I'm talking about because people recognize it. They're like, "Oh, you're a Columbo guy." Like, what, you haven't heard of Columbo? That actually is a good one maybe. I got for my dad for his classroom. He's retired now, but one Christmas long ago, a shit, what's it called? It's the Paul Newman one where he's in prison. Um, Help me out, Chad, if anyone. What is it called? But I got him a big poster of that movie, which is like a boomer favorite. Speaking of boomer favorites, I don't know if I'm getting into this too quickly, but I've been seeing Cool Hand Luke. Yeah, yeah. I've been getting like so I watched Avatar. There was a trailer for the Odyssey on it. And then again, it's like the Twitter AI algorithm, which I'm this ever so slightly wondering about quitting Twitter. But I know it is kind of burnout from AI stuff because even thinking all the replies are bots or whatever, and I'm like I can count on two hands the people that are real, like Dale or Caleb or whatever are real. So I'm like, well, that actually is a reason to stay. But I definitely don't have any interest, especially I actively want to avoid being influenced by like bots, and I'm paranoid that everything is a bot now because you can't even go by like, oh, that's like, an original take or that's written well or that talks like someone just talking who can't even write super good or whatever. You're like, that's probably a human. Like, no, AI can trick you at all that stuff. 7 people watching. How's it going, everyone? But yeah, so there's like lots of discourse coming on my feed. I don't know how big it is, Forest for the Trees style. I kind of wonder about this for, I mean, a couple things that I'm really looking forward to Marty Supreme, and then I am curious about the Avatar response, and then I'm kind of curious in following the Odyssey response. And I guess the Odyssey response, maybe you'd say it's 50-50, and this is on Twitter, and 50-50 is interesting. From a marketing standpoint, that is actually maybe what like ideal because like everyone's talking about it, everyone's arguing. The main thing they're arguing about is the historical accuracy, which I have a side on that, which I was thinking I want to get into. But yeah, yeah. So 6 people watching. Everyone say hi from the chat. Let me take a sip of this coffee here. But yeah. So did I say something about boomers? Yeah, they love Cool Hand Luke. Boomers love the Odyssey. I don't know if people know that. Like, and I have one anecdote about that. Is kind of my experience with the Odyssey is it was one of the first books I ever read. I just read a random young adult translation. So it was like a novel, but it wasn't super long. It was like 300 pages max. It was in the library and my dad picked it out. So I was in the library with my dad. This is like 8th grade or something, maybe 7th grade. And he's like, you should read this book. And he hands me the Odyssey. He's like, that's an amazing story. You'll love it. It's got everything you like. Because he knows what I like back then, like monsters and shit. That's like superhero style, but Greek, whatever. Or yeah, Greek. And that's the thing too. Like, so there's Odysseus and Ulysses. The main guy has two names. So I Googled that right away. I was like, what's that all about? And I think it's Ulysses is like the Romanization. Uh, Odysseus is the Greek version, and Ulysses is that story was so popular, it stayed popular through like Roman times, and it was kind of retranslated to Ulysses. So there's just like two versions, but they're basically the same. Um, but that actually is almost like an argument against some of this historical accuracy thing that we'll get into. Because I one of the things people say is they're like, oh, it's Roman. Oh, he thinks it's a Roman story. It's not Roman, it's Greek. Get it right. I'm like, bro, he could be translating the Roman version. He could do whatever he wants. Like, actually, I think like that's what the Romans did back then. You know, they modernized it. I know modernize is a bad word, but and that's obviously not what he's doing is he's Romanizing it a little bit. And I don't know. There's other points the other side could make. There's other points I could make. I'm on the side against historical accuracy, but I respectfully disagree with the other side. But we'll get into that later. I know there's a lot of people on, my mutuals that are not. They do not agree or whatever. Um, but yeah, was it? There was other stuff I wanted to go over really quick. Little talk about what we're going to talk about. One second. One thing is, yeah, getting straight into it. We'll look at this later, but I'm working on I got to share the screen. I'm working on the manga for Brendan Swan. And I mentioned this on Creative Block, but I drew it. I can show you guys. See if I can share the whole thing. So I've drawn one page twice, and it's sort of a test. This is the second version. This is the first version. So my original plan was do it traditional, do it kind of like I did Vatican City, like, tilted panels, tilted angles to fit everything in, keep it kind of big on the page, good energy. But I wonder if I can show you guys. Yeah, did I? Okay. Can I drag this behind? Make this multiply. Okay. Okay. So this is what I scanned in. So I drew it. Like if I zoom in, do I even have this page? Let me see. No, I took them downstairs. But I have, I could even show you guys. Oh, okay. I think this is kind of interesting for anyone interested in this stuff. Give me 1 second because I got to show another page here. Studio. Okay, here's another one. So this is original, scanned in. This is beefed up the ink lines just a little bit. You can kind of see, but this is on a scale. I actually have it just adding a little gray around it. If I bring this to 100, that gets really thick. But then it reads small. Like that would read very small, looks cool. But that's too thick. And so this like sliding scale, all it's doing is graying the under layer that thickens it. So somewhere in the middle, here it is without. That's what I scanned in. See, that looks like so thin. And then that that will read as a manga page. That would not read as a manga page. Like you kind of have to color that for it to work. And I kind of ran into that problem. So this one I solved just by thickening the lines digitally. And I'm like, whatever. And then I can show you the original art too. I wonder if that shows up on the screen. But so you see how big it is? This is, here, I'll zoom in. You see. So here's like the lines, like they look cool, up close. They look cool. Oh, this is upside down. But yeah, when you look at the whole page, and this is a one page splash, like pretty quickly, you almost like can't even see them. They like disappear. And this would work okay for a comic page, but for manga page, no. 9 people watching though. How's it going, everyone? And with this is B. I think this is B4 or A4. I get them mixed up, but This one, it has the lined rulers you could see of this shape of the page with, all around. And you're supposed to stay in the lines and it gives you space for bleed too. And I did not stay in the line. So it didn't work with the size of what a manga page is supposed to be. And I'm like, all right, I think I'm just doing it wrong. I'm going to do it again on a A4 page or whatever. And those are the same size as this, but you don't get the border. So it's just the ruled size. And that keeps you honest about staying small. And I'm like, and I'm going to use a G pen. I need to switch to a G pen because I did the other one with a 102, which is the American style. It's way too thin. G pen's thicker, but I couldn't find my G pen. So I found I've tested a bunch of nibs. I found ones that felt like I remember the G pen being, and they were thicker. Just these thicker, cool nibs. And then last night I actually found my G pen. So I tested it with the ones I thought might be better. And I liked the ones that I found better from random eBay buy of like these vintage nibs. One of them's like copper or brass or something. It's like really cool. So I might keep trying to use those, but I could switch to a G pen. But I did two variables. So I drew smaller on smaller paper and I made the nib thicker. And then that ended up uh that got me this version. And this I'm like, it's almost too thick. But yeah, it reads everything kind of reads better. And then it's a Dale says, man, I like that style. Which are you talking? So this is my question. One question is, do you guys like this page better with thickened lines? Do you like this better or this better? And it's kind of like some of one, some of the other. I don't know. But this one is obviously slightly thicker lines. This one is adjusted because that's like what it scanned in as. That's honestly way too thin. Um, and yeah, that thickens it. This one, I don't have to do any of that thickening stuff. This just scanned in exactly as it is. But I realized too, some of it's just like the actual design work of the page and getting good at the tools, getting good at the drawings, the balance of white space, space for the bubbles, all the regular comic stuff, but working smaller does there's a learning curve to that. So I'm trying to wonder how to proceed. I might need to do one more test, but I think because I mixed my variables, my options are I could try the slightly more big format pages still sticking with that. I could turn the B4 over so there is no ruled lines and I have that bigger space, which is actually that end up making this perfect uh, page with the space for the spine, which is what you need in small format printing and big format too. But for manga, you need that space for the spine that gets eaten up. And so that big page I showed, it does not include the space for the spine, but you could just copy paste it into this and it would go perfectly spaced like this. And so it would work perfectly. But then you're drawing kind of bigger. If I draw bigger with the thicker line, that might be that perfect middle ground. And I can do everything I can, or I could keep pushing on this learning curve of drawing smaller and I will switch back to allowing the slightly more, you know, angled panels and stuff because that's kind of fun. But I think so if I combine the angled panels with the small drawing and just another crack at like the design, because like this one is drawn smaller, but actually panel 2 is way better on this smaller version than when I bigger and I had a lot more room. This one isn't as good. Although this kind of drawing of him is a little bit better maybe. And then yeah, this kind of reads a little bit better with the thick and thin. This one, while it's kind of a fun drawing, the background lines are super thick because it's drawing so small, it's hard to do thin lines at all. Every line you put down is going to be pretty thick once you shrink it. This is like the stuff that's hard to think of. I like the final panel better in the first one, more depth. Yeah. In this one, yeah, I mean, there is maybe more depth. I don't know. If I scroll up, yeah. So Yeah, so this is the question. So it actually might be one more test and then I can make a decision. The problem is the testing is like slowing me down because it does affect morale slightly. But the thing is, I can go kind of fast. Like, I think this kind of page, I could do 2 pages a day pretty easily, I think. That might be like 8 hours, which is that's a long day, but because to do 8 hours usually takes me like 10 to 12 hours because I get distracted. I have to take breaks for working out and eating and stuff. Okay, so yeah, I'm still not like there's no conclusive thing. That's what's holding me up. Uh, yep. And then this is a random drawing. I gave this original to Jake Hyper Wizard at Heroes Con, but I might try and color this sooner or later, and it would just be random like fan art kind of thing. And then here's a page of Naked Samurai that I have to work on. So I might if I might stay live and work on this later, but we can kind of start talking a little bit about the Odyssey. But I know, like, if this was a page in a manga, these two panels work. This panel's okay. This panel is too busy. Like, you just, for whatever reason, you can't tell what it is. Like, if I zoom in and I tell you, you're like, oh, yeah. Like, there's a blimp in giving chase. There's a city in the background. Here's like some hang gliders. And he's blowing up one hang glider here in the foreground with by throwing this device, this like anchor kind of thing from his balloon. Here's the guy flying. Like that's all cool, but like manga's actually because I was looking at manga for reference, like it's very clear. It's always clear what's happening and different things they might do to help make it clear is, they'll let a lot of the page be white and they'll only draw, what's important or something. And if I was coloring it, there's all these tricks you can do to keep the clarity. And I had to jimmy rig a bunch of tricks, even with the line art, to try and keep the clarity. And I only got halfway there. And then this one, it actually is a little more clear story wise. But yeah, because it's drawn smaller, it's like maybe I could just focus and take my time. Yeah, it's smaller, but just don't freaking try to go fast. And because like you can see, I drew the city actually way closer. They don't look like they're super high above the city, so that's kind of like my bad. That's like a art mistake. Still okay perspective on the city. Hang gliders and blimp look okay. The explosion reads a lot better that he's throwing. This reads better. This guy is still tough to do, and I maybe need an actual design for this guy. Or that's the thing too. I'm thinking is like a lesson. Like if I can say it out loud to myself, is in the penciling stage, get it right, get it how you want it. Don't take it to inks. If it's your first time drawing it or whatever. Because with this, I'll scribble it out and I'll be like, all right, he's wearing goggles and like leather. He's just some bad guy, pirate guy who gets blown out of his hang glider. And, I tried putting him more in the foreground, but it's like, yeah. And I wonder if I could take this guy, put him here, take this background, put it, and maybe this blimp even, put it here in that background. I don't know. It's like a mix of both would be the best. And that, let me go, okay, that's a design problem. That's moving on from pencils too soon problem. That's a focus and taking your time problem when working on a smaller format. So these are things I got to keep in mind. And yeah, so I'll keep you guys abreast of this, but it will be a really fun project when it's all said and done. Yes. So let me see. Alex Ruby, what's up, man? 12 people watching. How's it going, everyone? All right, so I want to talk about, feel free to participate in the chat if you disagree with what I am saying, because that's what I'm saying. Might disagree with the mutuals on this one, but I actually wanted to live stream because I was thinking like, I want to try my hand at changing the mind of some people if I can. Normally I wouldn't do that. Normally I don't care. Everyone think what they want. And I still obviously respectfully disagree. Everyone can think what they want. But this is in regards to the Odyssey, Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. I can get into some funny things too. I'm like a little annoyed at if it's like right wing. It's sort of yeah. Like I feel like the there's a lot of my mutuals. It's like conservative. There's a conservative bent to the artistry, and they are fumbling a little bit. I think on the especially on this Odyssey one. Like a random one that they kind of fumbled was and it's always annoying. You want to be like, guys, I feel like you're making a mistake. And this is funny because this aligns slightly with what your boy Zach will be saying, but obviously he's super negative and kind of a little being a little weird lately. But one second here. But Furiosa was one where right wing film Twitter was. I call it right wing film Twitter. I don't know what to call it, but it's like my mutuals basically a bunch of them. It's like all of us, and like ex Comicsgate comic people or whatever. Uh, they're all a lot of them are like, oh, another strong female protagonist. It's woke, blah blah blah, and then it bombs, and then they're like, haha, this is what you get. And I'm like, that movie was good. Like, you guys are annoying me slightly, but and I don't know if that's the right word to even be annoyed, like, because like I say, respectfully disagree. But in that, but that was one where I would almost, I have the, I kind of want to like try and make an argument, but I'm like, yeah, it don't matter. And then the Odyssey, I was like, I will try to make an argument. Let me just try to make an argument. And so, um, so yeah, I gotta freaking bring up. Is this gonna? So what? Yeah, what? So initially, there was skepticism from the like conservative Twitter, film bros, etc. Uh, straight up, I think for some reason they've never liked Nolan, which is a little annoying too. Whatever. I like Nolan a lot. I feel like, but this is, I guess he's mainstream. I guess you'd say, right? So it's a what do you call it? It's a shoot. What's it called if you it's a contrarian, almost like hip point of view to not like Nolan. Um, but I've always liked him, so I don't even know. But they announced the casting, and he cast the one trans actress playing a dude, and I won't. That hasn't come up in the promos. We don't know what it is, and yeah. So I don't know, but that I don't know. I if that's going to be your reason to start suddenly hating everything about it. I don't not that I'm accusing anyone of that that's the case, but that's a little bit what it looks like is these things. I don't like when people like there's like a draft going on to see like which movie's conservative, which movie's liberal or whatever. And then once you find out like which team is appropriating it, then everyone just goes hard in the paint for or against. Definitely like a more quote unquote nuanced take would be ideal where you could be like, whatever, it's weird that they have the trans casting, but everything else is cool about it. But even that, like, there's sort of a defense for that where I'm like, I think, especially in the arts, trans casting or casting against gender is like a long tradition of that. So that's kind of okay. It's kind of fun too, like men playing women and women playing men. It's the only thing is maybe because of the it's like the type of thing it would age really well, but because of the like, what's happening right now in like modern times, that kind of ruins it. That's a funny inverse of what people would say. Like a common complaint is, oh, they're updating it for modern audiences, and I hate that. Like I kind of agree with that. That's a term you hear that you're like, okay, that's bad. But it's funny when something I think this about one battle after another, like it came out right when Charlie Kirk got assassinated. So that's a modern thing that's ruining it. But that's not going to last. That's going to go away, that juxtaposition, rightfully so, because it had nothing to do with it. It just is bad luck almost. Um, But once that goes away, it's going to age really well. So the movie is leaning towards being more timeless, even though it has like a rebellion in it, like Star Wars, or whatever. Um, and I don't know. I saw the latest take is people are almost retconning, conservatives are retconning liking Star Wars because it has a rebellion. Where before the funny argument they would say is if it's conservatives versus libtards or whatever, it's like you guys like Star Wars. Well, Star Wars, the rebels are the good guys, and the rebels are more like us. That was the old argument. So like it was kind of a good little own. And although it would never land, but that used to be the old argument. And then it's starting to change, and that's like I'm like, what the hell? Where now it's like, oh no, we are the empire, and now we don't like Star Wars because it's just another rebellion, liberals versus whatever empire, something like that. And I was like, oh my god, that's weird. That was a weird development, and I'll see if that was like I've just seen a few examples of that. But anytime you see it, it's like cockroaches. It means you see one tweet, other people are thinking this too. So everyone's um but let me see. Okay, let me catch up with some of the chat real fast. Talking about art earlier, Dale says, I screw myself by rushing into the inks all the time. It's like I can't fully visualize the panel until I put it in ink. Too much scribbling in pencils. Yeah, and then it's almost like you almost got to just draw it twice. Or I actually watched some manga people drawing pros, like I forget who, but like the Oda guy drawing One Piece. I watched some. There's a lot of videos. They're all in Japanese, but I watched them drawing manga, and a lot of them do super scribbly pencils, and then they like do this thing where they kind of half erase it, and then they pencil it again a lot tighter, and then they go to ink. So it's almost three steps instead of two, like pencils, inks. They go super loose, tight, inks. And as much as I hate that, I'm like, that's one way. Maybe I got to do that. Or there's a line Jake has too. He says, I don't design on the page. So yeah, you could have a blank page next to you, go to that, draw it, get it the way you want, then bring it. That's what I kind of try to do too a little bit. But yeah, you just got to force yourself to kind of slow down or something. Um, Actually, this is one of the points on the Odyssey. Speaking of that, is like this is so like digital versus uh traditional for comics. Traditional slows you down just naturally. I've noticed this even like if I work in sculpture, like back in college or randomly, it was like it's so different than drawing because you just literally have to go slow, and that affects the art in a good way usually. So the fact that makes it anything that makes it harder will make it better in weird ways. And we can't explain why except it's true or whatever. That's obviously true with shooting on film versus shooting digital. Um Popping Rico, what's up, man? And so the Odyssey, they're shooting on IMAX film, which has never been done for a whole movie before. And I was thinking like, okay, how big a deal is that? How big a deal is that? Right. I think we might be underestimating how big a deal that is. Cause I'm trying to remember like it was a big deal when they shot, like they first started doing this on like Dark Knight and they shot like 8 minutes or something of the 2.5 hour movie. They shot 8 minutes in IMAX, and it was kind of this big undertaking. And when you're watching it, you kind of feel the IMAX. And I don't know, and this is not like you're seeing it on IMAX. You just see it in the theater. And some of it maybe you can find out later. Oh, that was the IMAX sequence. Oh, makes sense. But yeah, the moments that they choose to shoot IMAX, that's one thing. They're going to be picking the best moments. But it was a fun idea to bring into the creative process. I think that was underestimated. The idea that we're going to shoot some of this on IMAX because all of a sudden in your head, you're like thinking about it differently. You're like, okay, well, there's a whole new question created. It's what is the sequence that we're going to put in IMAX now? And like, okay, we're putting this one in IMAX. That means we got a huge camera on set. We need to figure out how to do it, and it needs to look freaking awesome, or this whole idea is not going to work. Like, so you're putting more pressure on yourself, and like then you're delivering. And it's kind of like the ultimate pressure and delivery system to just do the whole movie that way. It's kind of insane. So we'll see. I think it might happen when the movie actually comes out, but they released the beat like the opening 5 minutes or whatever. By the way, I think this shot here that we're looking at, it's Agamemnon. Well, I didn't know. I'm pretty sure that's kind of the main king attacking Troy. He, uh, well, then there might be another main king because Helen or whatever started it. She gets stolen away. But so I don't know. Sorry if I'm wrong about that. You guys can correct me, but there's a bunch of kings all combined, and they have a pecking order. And the biggest, most badass king is Agamemnon, who is played by Benny Safdie, which that is awesome too. Um, who he's become a friend of Nolan somehow behind the scenes, and he's been in a lot of his movies. And yeah, I wonder if he's going to be more and more of just a straight up good actor, or if he's just always going to have pretty sweet roles in Nolan movies. Like, I don't know what's going on, but the Nolan kind of likes him and his brother a lot, because they make awesome movies. Their new movie, Marty Supreme, comes out next week. But I think this is Ulysses slash Odysseus approaching Agamemnon to tell him about the Trojan horse idea. That's like my guess of what even this is. I don't know. Um, but yeah, so the Trojan horse, and then so they released the 5 minute preview, which I haven't seen, but that's in IMAX. And then there's a trailer they released, which I did see, which I'm stoked on, which was like super arresting, super like the trailer alone had like, yeah, like kind of like a thesis statement built within it, which is awesome. Um, but yeah, where am I going with this? They showed a shot of the Trojan horse really fast from within the Trojan horse, and it's not super huge. I mean, it's pretty big, but it's like 2 stories tall, and it can fit, it's just got its belly with people in it, so it can fit like 8 people max. And I'm like, because I was wondering how they'd do the Trojan horse, and yeah, it's pretty freaking badass. But they showed like they're within the Trojan horse, and they showed people stabbing into the horse, and they're dodging the swords slash just getting butchered while they're in the horse. I'm like, bro, that's awesome. I did not expect that. I don't know what they're gonna do. It's very exciting. But okay, so going back, the original idea of why I want to do the stream, a couple little things. One is that boomers love the Odyssey. I don't know if everyone fully understands, but they all read it in grade school. They all almost know it by heart because they read it at this formative time. Literally all of them. And that might be one reason why Nolan wanted to do it. Because when he announced he wanted to do the Odyssey, I think different generations react differently. Some people are like, oh, that's a deep cut. Like, that would be sweet. But another thing, the Odysseys, there are ways where it's, yeah, like it's a little more ready to be mainstream, modern. I know that's bad. I'm trying to think, like, it's more like it's not boring. That's all I want to say. Like, it's this old, super accessible story from the past where not all the old myths and legends are like accessible, they're like boring or they're weird. The Odyssey is just straight up freaking badass. And they did a TV miniseries of it in the 90s, and that was badass. And that's on Tubi for free. You can watch it now. Uh, but yeah, the story is really cool too. Like, just the plot, like he's gone for a long time, and his wife is dealing with shit at home, and he has to come back and handle his business at home too. Like, that part of the story is awesome. Him trying to get home is awesome. Him, I'm not sure how much of the Odyssey is like if the actual Trojan horse is part of the Odyssey and then they win the Trojan War or if they win the Trojan War and then the Odyssey begins, because like 2 separate things. Troy came out, with Brad Pitt. I'm trying to remember. I haven't seen that movie in so long, but I remember not thinking it was the greatest. And I don't know. I think maybe if the complaints about that one were the historical inaccuracies, I don't know. I wonder about that. And I think, gosh, am I making this up, guys? But in Troy is Agamemnon played by the one guy, the one big beard, British fat guy who's like has awesome presence, but he plays Hannibal Lecter in the Michael Mann version. What's that movie called? From the 80s? Not The Silence of the Lambs. It's Brian something. Does he play? So anyway, the casting of Agamemnon is always interesting. Casting of Odysseus is interesting. I kind of don't. Speaking of the casting, I don't like Matt Damon, except I do think he aged into this one pretty well. He's in his 50s now, and that is perfect. So whatever, getting the age right, close enough. And he still looks cool. He got his arms jacked. So like whatever, that's cool. And he was good in Nolan's last movie. Uh, what do you the frickin' Oppenheimer? But yeah, so boomers love the Odyssey. All that is to say is there's a little disconnect between the generations, and I think the Odyssey will make a lot of money. I think boomers like Oppenheimer. You know what I mean? So like Nolan's like tapping into this boomer thing, and the other generations don't get it. That's one thing. And Oppenheimer almost made 1 billion. So there's this little bet too, like will the Odyssey make 1 billion or not? I'm fully on board with team. It will make 1 billion, but I don't mind like being wrong if I'll eat crow or whatever if I'm wrong. But I would just kind of strongly bet that it will. And yeah, if there's people like invested for or against it, they want it to fail for some reason. I don't know. That definitely, whatever. A lot of that, it is like I don't know why. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know why that happens, um, but yeah, in some ways it's good for the movie. But one second, I gotta put coffee here. So Alex, uh, there's a lot of groupthink nonsense in this space when it comes to entertainment. Side shouldn't be the most important thing. Good is good, bad is bad. Yeah. And there are examples when that comes up, and this is like one of the more interesting ones. Is why I want to talk about it because I feel like objectively this movie's gonna be awesome. The other side does have like the biggest like complaint is the lack of historical accuracy. And then like yeah, you almost can't argue. It's not like you can say, "Well, no, you're wrong. It is historically accurate." You just have to disagree with the premise. Like he's not going for historical accuracy and that's okay. Is kind of more the other side. And then the other side being like, "No, it's not okay." Or like and then there are points too like I don't know, but it's weird like you can imagine like what would a movie look like if they actually really go for historical accuracy? And one point is, well, it might not be as cool as you think. Like, for example, I think even Robert Eggers. So he's the current filmmaker with the reputation for historical accuracy. By the way, I think a lot of that is like uh, that is almost like groupthink or it's like marketing because I don't think his shit's that historically accurate. I don't like Nosferatu or whatever. Plus, it's like Nosferatu was like so dark you couldn't see what's happening, and so, there was some kind of like just dumb stuff in it. And I'm like, is the dumb stuff historically accurate? Because maybe you could get rid of the dumb stuff. Like why is there dumb stuff in this movie? But yeah, like so he's gonna do it again, and this draft thing, like the conservatives have claimed him a little bit. He's our guy, so they have to like his movies. I'm like, he's not making good movies right now. He's made some good movies in the past, but like, you guys are losing if you're going to go by this like do or die on the historical accuracy. The frame that I like more than the historical accuracy is just color, because that's the thing on with the Odyssey also. And so one point people will make is from like if you go to the 1950s, what film looked like these colorful, and if you picture like banners and warfare, like a lot of the ways they would win is with these bright designs and colors is like part of warfare, and that was awesome kind of. And obviously that's not so many modern movies don't do that, including the Odyssey. And so people like saying, yeah, bring back color, bring back banners, and bring back like cloth and that kind of thing. But yeah, I don't know. And then another thing they'll say is like, oh, so Agamemnon here, his armor, if I scroll down, they even say it's like it's a meme, but it's like not a scratch on it. And they're saying like it looks 3D printed, very handsome armor, not a scratch on it. Like, all right, he's a king. Like, it's actually cooler that there's not a scratch on it. So possible self-own there, it's okay. Um, and yeah, like so it's part of the story that his armor is like super legit, whatever. But yeah, so I don't know. I don't know. Like, um, so yeah, what are the points? Like this, you're not going to get your color fix from this movie. That is another movie that could come along. By the way, Robert Eggers does not give people the color thing either. So it's almost, this is like a meta past thing. So like quote unquote historical accuracy. I really, I'm biased, but I really don't care. But I do care about the color thing. I think that would be awesome if someone came along and made a 1950s style Technicolor CinemaScope epic. Because this movie, they compare it to David Lean. I'm like, please, like, you need the color if you're gonna like uh, put that in the movie or whatever. But yeah, like that, it's historically accurate to the 50s would be cooler than historically accurate to like actual history is a little bit. But so randomly with Percival, so what do they call it if it's not historically accurate? I forget what they call it. It's not like it's not apocryphal. It's some word where things aren't aligning historically. Help me in the chat if you know that word. But um I know, so with Conan, uh Robert E. Howard, he made it fantasy so he didn't have to deal with that shit. And that's what I did with Percival. So like cuz I was worried about that with Percival, and in Percival same thing. It's like it would quickly become like you're going to alienate all the historically accurate people. But with Percival, I have it where it's pre-diluvian, which means it's before the flood, which Robert E. Howard also did, but it's not with Conan. It's with his other character who's in the same timeline. But I forget his name. But he has a whole history before the flood where you can be way more fantastical, and you can kind of do what you want. It can be a little bit more where it's not historically accurate or whatever. But anyway, so yeah, my way around that in Percival is it's before the flood, and there is a reason why it's like pre-Christian, but the Grail's like this Christian icon, and it's like a prequel for the Grail. It's like the idea that the Grail's been around way longer than it had a priest history before it even gets to the table of Jesus, and that all fits, and it kind of works because the Grail mythos, a lot of that is it's Christian stuff added on to what like Gaelic mythos that is pre-Christian, so it's a mix of the two. So that is like more what I'm going for, interested. So I feel like I get at least have a train of thought where I can kind of defend it. But yeah, that like makes it so it's pre-flood. It's like I feel like that's a pre-diluvian, very quick like way out of all that discussion. But yeah, for a marketing purpose, I wonder getting people arguing almost like, and that's what's strange is like the argument seems to be almost like 50-50, and I'm like, is it though? Like, because I wonder if it's actually like 90-10. Like boomers are probably going to love this movie, although boomers, they could be the type for the historical accurate too, and they have some ownership. Anyone who's read the Odyssey, which is still a lot of people, they might have some ownership, and then they're like, oh, he adapted it wrong. It's almost like like you could compare it a little bit to Lord of the Rings, which, by the way, Lord of the Rings, I'm trying to think, did they pass the color test? Like, not really. They don't do the 1950s style that everyone claims they want now with bright banners, Technicolor, CinemaScope. Lord of the Rings didn't do that. A lot of people will cite Lord of the Rings as like the perfect way to do it, though. So yeah, there is like mixed messages, people being kind of caught where they don't really know what they want, but they'll tell you what they want as far as like they don't want historically inaccurate. For this, they claim it looks 3D printed. I think I'm like, are these people bots? And then this poster, this is another thing. So here it's Agamemnon's character played by Benny Safdie. And they put him on the poster, and they highlighted the gold plate, and people saying it looks like bad CGI. People saying it looks 3D printed. I don't know. The take that I heard was the best is that Nolan still is obsessed with the Michael Mann Heat shade of blue. I'm like, okay, that is like true, and that's not like even a negative. That's more like what this is. But yeah, this being like I even kind of want to defend this, and I was trying to think like to truly defend it though, you would have to say like if it's whether or not it's done in camera or not. So if this is like a Photoshop thing where they just, they take a picture, they make it blue, and then they select the spine and they change the hue to highlight it. And then they're like, check out this cool design idea. This guy's super intimidating. By the way, in the trailer, it's awesome. Like it, I don't know. That's why I'm like seeing it in motion. I just feel like it'll give you goosebumps how awesome Agamemnon is. And then I'm like, oh man, it would just suck to be on team. I hate this because it's historically inaccurate. I feel like I still haven't fully made a good argument against that though. That's why I'm like, it's kind of a decent argument, but we'll keep thinking about it. But we've been going 45 minutes, I realize. But let me see what people are saying. No such thing as historically accurate. There's only historical consensus for good or worse. That's all we have. So yeah, and that may be an argument a little bit towards, because yeah, I've seen one of the other points, people like, oh, you want historically accurate? Here you go. And it's like the ugliest armor ever. And I'm like, yeah, that's funny. And another thing is like, I think once you kind of realize a little bit what Christopher Nolan's doing, because people are mocking it because it looks like too much like Batman or whatever, or like science fiction even. And they're like, it would be cooler if they just actually did it science fiction. They should just make the movie like a science fiction version of the Odyssey. Don't make it actual Odyssey and then make it kind of feel like sci-fi. And I'm like, okay, what you just said is like the coolest thing ever, and you're saying you don't like it. The idea of doing the Odyssey, and this is not like updating it for modern audiences. This is like fucking a vision, like we're gonna get to see like, because you got to picture like there's a reason Nolan decided to do the story, and he had a quote that got kind of taken the wrong way. I was worried about it for a while too, but and you know what he does, like he'll do Batman, but then he grounds it, So like, okay, he's gonna ground the Odyssey, and what does that mean? Like, are there still gonna be gods in it? And they're like, oh, gods are just gonna be like, there won't be gods in it, or Zeus is just gonna be lightning or something. And okay, actually, that still hasn't been proven true or false exactly, but the gods actually might be like hallucinations or something, which is actually still cool. And that's almost like exactly the same, like if he has Hera, is Hera even one of the gods? Whatever. But one of the gods comes down, Zendaya, there was footage of Ulysses and her talking. And you're like, okay, whether or not she's really doing it or he's just seeing her, it's like the same. But I don't know if that upsets people. But the one I was worried about was the Cyclops. I'm like, if he grounds the Cyclops, and the Cyclops ends up being like just a 7-foot guy with an eye patch, or if it ends up being like a cave, like with just one that like looks like a Cyclops or something, then I would actually hate the movie. And obviously that's not at all what they're doing. Like the Cyclops looks amazing. It's going to be so awesome. Jammin, a sci-fi would have given him extra artistic liberty, but won't have the intended impact he's after, I guess. Yeah, and that's like because there are these things. That's like what I did with Percival by making it pre-Diluvian. You can dodge the whole issue, and yeah, by making it sci-fi, you dodge the whole issue. I feel like even Lord of the Rings, which people love, it dodges the whole issue because it's just pure. It's pure fantasy, and then within that, you just need like like the armor. You want like the same sides to have the similar armor styles, like or whatever, like elven armor, it needs a design sense, and then like the humans wear different armor, but it doesn't need to necessarily be. And you can kind of pick and choose like from your influences, because I think even that's one thing they say about um this is that they're like, oh, it's Roman armor, which I did. There's sort of an interpret. There's a defense against that, and it's that this story did get filtered through Roman culture as well and retranslated and like taken in. And Ulysses got his other name, or Odysseus, the Greek version became Ulysses. So there's a Greek version and a Roman version, and they're like identical, but the gods like change a little bit, that he's and stuff. So it's not exactly like, oh, he made it Roman. That is a thing. Like there's a Roman version of the story. So I don't know. But the other thing they say is like, oh, just Viking ships. I'm like, okay, the only thing about that I will say is if you're talking about ships like back in the day going from point A to point B long time ago, they all had to look pretty similar. You know what I mean? Like they all had points on either end to break waves. They all had like lots of people rowing. Like and that's like, oh, it's Viking. I'm like, all right, what did Greek ships fricking look like? I bet you Greek ships and Viking ships look very similar. That's all I'll say about that. So I don't know. I don't know. I feel like that one maybe is not even the best point. The main point seems like the historically accurate side is like maybe they could say like, okay, I get what he's doing. I just really don't like it. Because obviously he's not trying to be historically accurate. Like it's one thing if he's trying to be historically accurate and failing, but he's just so obviously not even trying to be historically accurate. Uh, and then that he's going for this like vision. He's not using tricks to dodge it, like making it sci-fi or making it pre-Diluvian. Um, and then yeah, like I don't know if there's some of the arguments for it, or it's like the Odyssey is open to interpretation. I feel like that's true, but that is not going to convince the other side. But yeah, I think what's even happening here is like that group, the historically accurate side, they have a need and it hasn't been fulfilled. And but there's almost like Robert Eggers is not your guy. Like I almost think like there is a little bit of they don't know what they want. Like what they claim they want is historical accuracy. I think what they actually want is a colorful movie. Uh and I don't know. I don't know. That's like my hot take almost. Um but yeah, is there more to discuss? Have I said everything? Um Oh yeah, I was gonna say so. Nolan is really into no CGI. Sometimes they call that in camera, and that's like with the IMAX thing. And I was wondering, it's possible that this poster is in camera, which would mean they took this photo, and the way this is highlighted, it was just from the natural settings of the camera and the light, like which might, by the way, be like UV light or something, like they lit a room. I don't know exactly how you do this, but I feel like you could do it where you're using a type of light in the room, if it's black light or whatever, where it's only actually hitting and bouncing the gold and everything else is blue. And it's going to make it look like that. Like it's not a natural look. Our eyes automatically go to that looks like quote unquote bad CGI. So that's where I wonder, like, if it's Photoshop and they just change the hue, yeah, I almost can't argue against that, even though I think it looks awesome. But if this is in camera, then everyone needs to shut up. I wish so. I kind of we'll see. Like, I almost wish they would tell you a little bit, like tell you how they did it or something. But that is like something Nolan would do. Um, and yeah, I don't know. It's weird that people reject this look. I'm wondering why. Yeah, because there's a general consensus too that people don't like CGI. Nolan is not CGI, so he's your guy for on your team for that. People would like him, but yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Homer himself wasn't famous for his accuracy either. Unlike Plutarch, he accommodated lots of local cultural motifs into his writings. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Um, yeah. I'm wondering. So, a little another kind of angle on this is just AI in general. Some of the comments are like, it's like if it's an AI prompt for like a Chad in. Let me see if I can find it. It looks like a bad 3D render. So this is like our eyes almost getting trained in the wrong way. I feel like, but that's like, it is what it is. So this like because is like they say it looks 3D printed, like because it's smooth and kind of has this cool, but they just like reject that whole aesthetic. And it's just a poster, but yeah. But it was kind of funny saying it looks like a 3D or an AI thing. And I'm like, I don't know. Yeah, like, but the one thing is like, this was in the trailer and it's so cool. Like, it was so cool in the trailer. Agamemnon is so badass in it. So much aura. Uh, so I don't know. Is there anything more to say? A lot of people, a lot of people are looking forward to it. Yeah, see, people just kind of mocking it, but um, yeah, there's a few people that are like, what are you guys even talking about? Uh, and I'm like, I agree more with that. Here's this. This is mean, but she says, how you see that and say it looks dumb? He literally looks more menacing than any Greek movie ever made, but y'all know better though, huh? Yeah. See that's more like what I would feel like. Let me see if I did bookmark some stuff. Maybe if that brings up. Let me find. Okay. Let me see what if the Romans were alive and saw that poster, they would definitely switch up their helmets because it looks badass. Yeah. That's funny. Um, yeah, I don't know. Like the idea of a king using a spine for a hair clip is so awesome, a gold-plated spine. I think that's what kind of why they did the poster because they just were excited about that idea. Another thing is like there is like with a lot of Nolan movies, but this movie, yeah, I heard someone say the movie, the prequel or whatever, the prologue felt like a thesis statement. I'm like, okay, yeah, you're shooting it all on IMAX. You're adapting the Odyssey. You got this. There's a reason you want to do it in the first place, and there's a reason you want to use IMAX. The main thing IMAX brings to it is like game time, like do or die. So you bring your ultimate do or die. Uh, like we're actually going to do this, and that's borderline underappreciated. I don't think people fully understand what it means when to say you're going to shoot a whole movie in IMAX. Um, how huge the cameras are, and like I mentioned, Dark Knight, they shot like maybe it was 8 minutes, maybe less, 8 minutes total, and you can feel the sequences that they shoot in IMAX. But I think in Dark Knight, one of them is the first shot of the movie is IMAX, and it's just a helicopter going towards a city, like a helicopter shot. But it's so badass, and I don't know how that happened. But um, okay, so here's some things people are saying. Like, what always bothers me is less the inaccuracy and more the incuriosity. See that one, not to roast, like I mean, not like even roast, but other than say that's retarded. But sorry, Tom Bombadil. Um, like what does this even mean? I want to click in what people even respond. What are people saying? There's a clothing expert from the era posted an email she got from clothing designers heavily researching it. No one looked at it and said, "Nah, let him cook." Remember what everyone was saying before Oppenheimer Elliott? They were big mad. Okay, so yeah, they're kind of pushing against it. There's both sides, but the more the incuriosity. I think what he's saying is, oh, that like that guy was saying they did look. He's like, if they would look at the options, find out what was possible, and then choose, rather than just being lazy and saying we're just going to design it. And they're saying, yeah, no, they did look and design it. Like, yeah, they're making every decision like has a reason. And one thing people will say against Nolan, like, what are the things classically is they'll sometimes say his movies are cold. What else do they say? They'll say, I don't even know. They're awesome. I don't know. They're in some way they're too popular, so they just get these hipster haters. I could say that. I don't know. Uh oh man. So here we go. This is I didn't even remember this, but because I was talking about Robert Eggers, like people have claimed him as their guy. The historical accuracy side has claimed him as their guy. But yeah, one day Robert Eggers is going to adapt the Iliad, and he's going to stand behind Lily Rose Depp with a Torkarev pointed at her head to make sure she pronounces the long in Merjeev Klo correctly, and it's going to be really good. Yeah, I think he's being sarcastic because that's going to be stupid, and you're not going to get your color. Like everyone, I feel like what everyone really wants. I'm putting words in people's mouths, but they want the banners, the color, the 1950s sword and sandal, like bring that back. Shot on film, but yeah, like Technicolor, whatever. The first person to do that, that will be a thesis statement. That will be legit, and it's got to be good though. Everything else you have to get everything else right too. But um, the best and most accurate recreation of ancient warfare I've ever seen is the movie Alexander. The movie objectively sucked. I just want to enjoy this movie. I hope it's good. A few posters aren't going to decide that. I kind of want to watch Alexander now. I wonder. There's like a 4-hour version, but yeah. Um, this one made me laugh. I'll watch the historically accurate AI version. That was like the AI thing. So that's so funny. Like, that is a dystopian future. And yeah, like people like modding so you have an artistic vision. I feel like this is such a like bad point that this should almost convince people on team historical accuracy that so yeah, like even with video games, like they'll do like say like Laura Croft and they modernize her and they make her tits tiny and they give her a big nose or something and a big square chin. And then mods come in and make her beautiful again. And yeah, that's like righteous. But yeah, then imagine like it's not mods, it's just AI, and you're like, just make every girl look like a supermodel. Give me this movie, but just make everyone look like supermodels. Like that starts to get weird about what AI is going to be able to do, and that is going to be judged harshly in a way of like, yeah, you're revealing more about yourself based on what you ask the AI to do. So yeah, but it's funny if you're asking AI, like, take this awesome vision from Christopher Nolan and then make it historically accurate armor. It's like a mod in a video game. It in one sense it's like maybe it's harmless, but in the other sense it's like just so ridiculous. I think there is an issue. Maybe this is getting the bottom of a little bit of what's happening. Is the problem is it's an unrepresented point of view for the most part. Is like there is a starvation where there isn't historically accurate movies right now. There isn't colorful. I think colorful is way more big of an issue. And this movie is not satisfying either of those. It's in some respects Nolan is doing more of the same, although it's going to be his next awesome movie. And yeah, if you're like, where can we even turn to? We can turn to Robert Eggers, but that's not really going to work. We can turn to AI or Robert Eggers. And I'm like, well, I don't know. That's another thing. Like AI, it kind of represents like if there is a starvation effect, like an untapped market, AI can kind of fill that at some point. Um, but there's no guarantee it's going to be good. It might still be crap or whatever. But yeah, if you want like quote unquote historically accurate and colorful, by the way, um, frickin' Akira Kurosawa movies, Ran or whatever. But I was just thinking, like, so a fun one that I wonder how it lines up. It's so like old Robin Hood, say even like the like what is it, 1939 Robin Hood or whatever. Such an awesome movie. Pretty sure that's not historically accurate. It's very colorful. It's so awesome. And I think that's what we need. So I'm almost, yeah, like that's my, if anyone made that point, I would agree. I pretty strongly disagree with the historical accuracy thing. Uh, yeah, I don't know. And yeah, it's weird for the historical accuracy for something that isn't exactly history. It's like this myth, and then you're demanding historical accuracy. That's a little weird. I don't know. Cecil B. DeMille, Errol Flynn. The entire bank robbery was IMAX and the Hong Kong Batman scene. Yeah, yeah. And it's awesome. And yeah, so doing a whole movie in IMAX, it is going to have a result, even if it's a little bit like, because there is a thing I don't like about it is that it does feel like there's an obsession with this technology of more and more pixels. So like Blu-ray can do 8K now, 8K Blu-ray, new release. And I was like, yo, 720p was literally the best. And our eyes actually can't see pretty much more than that. But it after that, a higher resolution, quote unquote, will just let you zoom in and it stays sharp. But you don't need to zoom in like you never would. It's not even like you can get closer to the TV. That won't really make a difference, but it's just zooming in. So yeah, from the production point, I think that's like how they do anti-shake on phones. Like if you have a higher, you're taking like a wider lens, higher resolution, but you're only actually showing people the middle, then you have all this room to undo if it's shaking. You can like keep it steady. And I know David Fincher like did something like that behind the scenes with Zodiac, where they did the camera's able to follow perfectly these camera moves on a car from a bird's eye view. And it's because they shoot in like 8K, but then they can zoom in and keep the shot perfectly animated with the car at like 4K or whatever, which is still super high. So yeah, that's all like useful, but yeah, even shooting IMAX, I'm like, I don't know, IMAX might be up to like 16K or something as far as like pixels, but that's all useless. That I don't know why they like that. Um, other than, I mean, maybe it's true. I wonder, so the IMAX screen, IMAX does have like an interesting effect on your brain. It does feel awesome, but I feel like you could just shoot, you could shoot a 16 millimeter movie projected in IMAX. I'm pretty sure, then you would see the film grain, you know, it wouldn't look all super real and crisp, but it would be huge in front of your face and you'd have to turn to even see the whole screen. It would give you very similar awesome feel. But yeah, making it super crisp at that size, that's kind of the one thing IMAX lets you do. I wonder if they'd want to go if they ever want to go higher than IMAX. I'm just like, what the hell are you guys doing? Like, what are you even doing? But the main thing that seems cool about it is this just the fact the camera is so big and the film is big and expensive and just forces you to take it super seriously, and that makes the movie better. So like that is awesome. 140 millimeter. Oh, that's what IMAX is compared to 16 millimeter, which is so much. It's only like 1/10. Yeah. And 16 millimeter looks dope. That's the thing. Like 16 millimeter looks awesome. So yeah, it's weird. What even IMAX? I'm actually curious. I wonder. I'm a little worried that if IMAX ends up just looking digital, like because for example, One Battle After Another, that was shot on this old type of film. Forget what it's called now, but I think it might have been 35 millimeter or whatever. Maybe it's more. But anyway, this old film, and you can kind of see the film grain and feel the energy of the photography, and it's really fun. But yeah, like if shooting on IMAX, if it just looks like Netflix, because it does get accused of that too. But I don't really see that being a thing really, especially because we have seen kind of what IMAX translates to, and it seems like it's more just the feel. Like you feel like, oh, that scene was badass. Oh, that's because they knew it was a big deal, so they shot it in IMAX. And like, yeah, 70 millimeters for higher end films. Oh, and then they like blow it down to 35 for projection. Yeah. Yeah. And they say you can project 70 millimeter in IMAX. And I think that's one that you almost don't notice. It still looks awesome. So yeah, it's weird how the the pixels or the resolution. It's weird how that kind of plays out. Um yeah, let me see if there's anything else about uh random AI thing. Difficulty boycotting AI is massively inconvenient to stop supporting megacorps, so you end up criticizing small companies. Yeah. New game that looks cool. Another Odysseus movie from 2024 that I kind of want to see just because it came up, but it's called The Return, but it's just about him getting back. Yeah. Yeah, I'm a little curious about because the story is pretty long and a lot of stuff happens. And even structurally, like there's a part in the original story. I remember this because I watched half of the miniseries from the 90s, like 6 months ago. I need to watch the second half. But the way the story goes is he actually gets back pretty quickly. It's not that crazy. Like when they travel to war, they're just crossing like, like a strait or whatever. And it might take a couple days or maybe it takes a week. It doesn't take that long. But because he like pisses off the god of the sea, he kind of talks shit because he sees his homeland and he's like, screw you, gods, told you I could do it. And they're like, oh, no, you didn't. And then they blow him away and he gets his whole ship and his crew gets lost. They get blown away. Then it takes him like 20 years after that to actually get back. So, like, I wonder if that's going to be in Nolan's version because that's a little bit funny. It's like structurally, it's kind of awesome, but it's kind of like, damn, like it's tragic. Like, oh, he was right there. He was almost there. And then he talked shit. It's kind of a big part of the story. I wonder if that'll be, but that's like, yeah, I mean, like the movie gets pretty long if you start adding everything that needs to happen. The other thing I mentioned that I kind of like, and I wonder if it's in the movie, but in the story, there's a part, and it's one of the longest delays he has, is he like ends up kind of in a paradise with a bunch of women, and he stays there for like 7 years or whatever, maybe longer. I don't know. So it's yeah, a huge part of his delays. He just gets to paradise, is like, this ain't so bad, but eventually he does. He is like, I think I should go. And that is funny too. But yeah. Um, Here's a thing with armor. Okay, that looks badass. Everyone agrees. The armor is superb. What an image. This is from a 1950s black and white French movie about Joan of Arc. Historically accurate, maybe. It looks freaking awesome though. Uh, yeah, look how awesome that is. I wonder if if they put Ulysses in that armor, if people would complain. I don't know, because it's obviously historic. I like this art style, and that game seems weird, so I saved it. Some animes I need to see. Another kind of cool, semi older French movie. The French, their culture is like the knights or whatever, so they are interested in that shit. But uh I've seen that movie and I really liked it, but I can't remember much about it. I remember it was like more about the affair and more just like about drama than action or whatever. But pretty cool, pretty cool. This looks sweet, just some art. That old thing. This was in the news. People are talking about that 2014 to 2024 was real, all that shit that happened. And this was a funny time thing that happened, like just kind of funny. Chalamet with Marty Supreme. This movie was shot in 16 millimeter. And you can see like it's not sharp, but it looks amazing. That looks awesome. And yeah, so whatever, 16 millimeter. But that's kind of maybe the end of what I had. Rule of cool can't be beat, but cool is hard. Yeah, I think I'd agree with that. Yeah, I still feel like there's no definitive, because what I wanted to do is like I want to actually try and convince the other side that the Odyssey is going to be awesome. And I don't think I convinced them. I don't really have a great argument other than I respectfully disagree. Uh, yeah, I wonder. Yeah, even this, like, even like hypothetically, like, yeah, they kind of mentions, but say Robert Eggers or say like Spielberg or some good director that you trust, you're like, another version of the Odyssey with them doing it historically accurate, uh, it's not going to be better. Like that on what's important, that's kind of far down the line. The other filmmaking things are much more important. Of like just the thrust of the story or the emotion or whatever that it's capable of creating in the audience. And it's yeah, it's a little the rule of cool or like the rule of like what's freaking badass. And also just like what is like the X factor once it's all put together. So like people were saying too, the music's amazing. And yeah, that even if I scroll up is that one shot. Yeah, like it's kind of weird that I can kind of see like so if you look at this is like a photo of a photo in IMAX or whatever, and or just on a regular theater, and people be like goofing on it. This was so awesome seeing it in motion with music and everything. Uh, so I wonder if it's the IMAX thing because I'm trying to remember. It was the camera move, and I remember it fucking goes straight to your brain. Like I remember, as I remember it, it's he's looking up at Agamemnon, and he's just barely here, you know. But I remember feeling it. It's the way it feels like you're looking up at someone if they have aura or whatever. Like the movie captured that, and the shot captures that. Um, so yeah, so we'll see. I don't know if it does make over 1 billion, then it can be kind of yeah. Like I wonder if we're talking about actual stakes. So like in the case of like Furiosa, you have the haters, and they kind of end up being claiming able to claim victory because it bombs. But that was what I would call is like a misstep or like maybe a rare misstep because not everything because there are times when you're right. Yeah, like this movie sucks. Rooting against it is righteous, and when it bombs, you're like, thank goodness. I almost feel like I feel a little bit like that about the new Marvel movie Doomsday. But if it's good, it's good. And Robert Downey Jr. is great, so whatever. Maybe it will be good. But yeah, but Furiosa is like actually a pretty sweet movie, and it got wrongly maligned as woke and then bombed, and so once in a while that'll happen. It's like okay, that's a kind of rare L for these people that are maybe if I don't know people consider themselves culture warriors or people with just these more conservative ideas want the influence on Hollywood, and it is kind of important that they have a good batting average, and yeah, part of that is like you may have like a libtard, like maybe Nolan is a libtard, but I don't think that affects like, and even if there's an element of libtardation, I wonder how you could libtardize the Odyssey. But um, yeah, like it's gonna be so good. So it's weird to hate on it too much or root for it. But if you're yeah, if you're rooting for it to fail, then yeah, you almost don't want to do you. I would encourage like having a good batting average, being discerning is a good quality where you do want to pick and choose. And yeah, if a movie's going to be a banger, you don't want to go hard in the paint against it because you'll just kind of look like a hater or whatever. Um, but yeah, and that's one way that yeah you can almost more achieve like your goals or whatever. But all that said, the one thing that's untapped is like yeah, a colorful historical epic. Nobody's done that in a long ass time. People are kind of wishing this was like that, but it's not. Um, this is like a little bit. This is and people are roasting it for this, but this looks like it's very close to like Batman and what he did with Batman is very close to what he's doing with and even sci-fi. Like it's like Tenet and Interstellar. It's gonna be a Nolan movie. A Nolan movie. Yeah, girl boss Penelope, she don't need no man. Oh man, yeah, yeah, yeah. You know, just something random is what's his face? Who plays Batman? What's his name? Robert Pattinson. Shit, my phone's somewhere. He's awesome. He's like an awesome actor, and I'm always curious how they're going to utilize him. He was so cool in Tenet, and I guess he's kind of a bad guy in this one. He's one of Penelope's suitors, and I don't know. Yeah, I hope he's awesome. I feel like a Nolan movie can kind of be like this too. It's the one. My one complaint about Tenet is the bad guy is not super bad, and they try to lean on making him super bad, kind of with the performance. And it's Kenneth Branagh got cast, and he does like a Russian accent. He's an arms dealer who was willing to kill people, and he's just not that threatening, and that like is a one definite knock on the movie. Would knock it down to like a 9 out of 10 instead of a 10 out of 10, or even an 8 out of 10. I don't know, 8.5. But like using IMAX, I feel like if you get Robert Pattinson in a movie, that's like IMAX. Like you got to take it seriously. You can't have him just play a random character. It's got to be pretty legit, especially at this point in his career. Got to give him some stuff to chew on. So he might be able to be an awesome character in it. Nolan feels like he brings the aura of brutalist architecture in a cinematic form. Yeah, I've heard that, and I don't disagree. And that is like, yeah, I think that juxtaposition is a little more accurate rather than the historical arguments. It's almost more this meta thing of people want a 1950s Technicolor historical epic influence rather than brutalist influence, and they aren't getting it. And yeah, it's not necessarily quite as much about historical accuracy. Uh, but and at that level, you just kind of have to be like, yeah, I mean that's true. It's still awesome though. People who are sick of it, like I don't know, I wouldn't even put it on the level of like Wes Anderson. His movies are always the same, and if you're into it, they're awesome. But you can kind of get sick of it. But then maybe you don't see one for a while, and you just feel like it, so you can watch a new Wes Anderson movie, and you're like, sweet. But they're all the same as far as like that feel. And yeah, like Nolan is a little bit like that, but um, it's like yeah, that's what you get if you need the fix of the colorful Technicolor historical epic. Yeah, it is a little bit unfortunate no one's giving that. The one guy you would think could maybe do that is like Robert Eggers, and he doesn't. He claims he does historical accuracy, but he just does borderline. I'd almost call it brutalist, even though it isn't. But he does like drudge, dreary, muddy, dank, foggy. You know, just more like kind of this deep dark kind of thing. Superbad was a good movie. Um, cool. Well, 16 people watching and kind of done with discussions here a little bit, I think. I might get out of here. Oh, let me see sorry if I missed. Alex Witherow. I found a literary prototype for your Blogart character, Narwhal. A guy called Henry Blowitz, a journalist, was reading a book called Flashman and the Tiger, and I thought, hey, this is Blogart. Oh, you know what's fun about that? I've read 3 Flashman books. There's a bunch of them, but I've read 3 of them, and I love that character in that series. Might be due for another one. I haven't read Flashman and the Tiger. So maybe I could get that one. Uh, Infinite. Look at that dude and look at the Senate guard from Star Wars. Yeah, maybe it has a little of the sci-fi feel, which I think is awesome. So, popping Rico, 1950s 39. What was Eggers done that has opportunity to be bright and colorful? I just mean, so maybe nothing yet, but I think there's a mischaracterization of what the camps want. There's kind of like 3 things to draw distinctions. So what people are getting and complaining about is you're getting this Nolan movie, this artistic vision that it is what it is, and then what they claim they want is historical accuracy. But what I think they actually want, but they haven't, not everyone is saying it, is they actually want 1950s Technicolor sword and sandal, uh, what Technicolor CinemaScope, like Robin Hood 1939, just like color, like, and that is not necessarily historically accurate. But and the thing, if you get historically accurate, it's not always like, it's like be careful what you wish for a little bit. Like it might not be as good as you think. Um, but yeah, so the main thing that is underserved, because that's the issue. There is a completely underserved thing, and it's the 1950s Technicolor is not even a thing. That's a total void in the artistic landscape. Can't even find it. So the longing for that, I think, is like way more like legitimate and true. Whereas longing for historical accuracy, like, you know, we kind of, sometimes you get that, like Robert Eggers movies supposedly do that, and they are just as dark and dreary and as like a Nolan movie or whatever. So that's the only point. It's like I'm kind of interested to see someone could come along and make a colorful 1950s style historical epic. That would be kind of an awesome thing to bring to the table. But you would be worried like that, yeah, that I hope it would be successful at that point. That would be fun to see though, to have someone do that. Um, Flashman is great. Yeah, yeah, yeah. He's an awesome character. But yeah, Blowitz, I kind of wonder his deal. He could be fun. I should read it for research on Blogart. um, yes. So, I don't know. Maybe I'll get out of here. I don't know what more there is to say. Wait for more stuff to come out. They released kind of a lot though. It's crazy. They released the whole prologue in IMAX. Eventually that might be on YouTube, but maybe not. Like, so I don't even know. Um, all right, I'm going to yeah, I'm gonna get out. Papa Rico, see ya. I'm gonna end the stream, everyone. Catch you guys later. Peace.